What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. And we are now about a week past the draft. The draft happened about a week ago, so we've all had ample opportunity to process everything that happened and didn't happen. So I want to take this video to talk about something that didn't happen, and yet people are still acting like maybe it could happen. And that's player trades. Trading for players or trading players. Not a lot of that going on in the draft this year. And of the little bit we got that did happen, none of it involved the Seattle Seahawks. They did not trade any of their players for extra draft picks. They didn't package players with picks to get better picks or anything like that. They just chilled out and sat with the roster they had. And that was interesting because there was a fairly decent amount of buzz going into the draft that some players could be on the move. Some people were talking about certain players maybe being part of some kind of a package for picks. So I want to talk about that a little bit, partially because the draft being over has not stopped people discussing this. You would think that the draft now being done, deep in the rearview mirror, would close the door on any of this stuff, but hasn't happened yet. There are still some things going on as it pertains to one particular Seahawks player that has it being discussed. NFL fans are discussing it. Some of the beat reporters are talking about it. I'm talking about mainly DK Metcalf. He is kind of front and center right now in some of these discussions. And first of all, I want to say this. I'm happy the Seahawks didn't trade any of their players. I didn't think that it made sense for them to, or at the very, well, maybe some of it made sense, but I thought it made more sense to stand pat. Of the players that could have been potentially involved in a trade, I didn't think the finances would work to make a trade feasible, and I didn't think the return we would get would be worth the exchange. So I'm happy that none of the players got traded, and I don't really want any of these players to get traded at this point. Because if I didn't want it before, I really don't want it now. I mean, think about it like this, guys. It's one thing when you're trading for a draft pick that you know exactly where that pick is going to be and that you're going to use either that day or in the next couple days, right? It's a completely different thing when you're trading for a pick for next year. You don't know where the pick is going to be. You don't know where in that round it's going to land. And you're also, in this case, almost a year away from being able to use it. That is totally different. So if I wasn't interested in trading Metcalf for current picks, I definitely don't want to trade him for picks a year down the line. But we still are getting the rumors. There's a couple of tweets out there. You can find a couple people reporting this. It's mostly Steelers fans who are speculating on what might happen. That's one thing. But there is a little bit going on to where you could definitely believe that there's something going on. At least it's being discussed, I should say. So you got this tweet right here. Steelers contacted the Seahawks about a potential trade for DK Metcalf. They weren't turned down, but were told the deal wouldn't be considered until after June 1st. So, looking at the Spotrac page for DK Metcalf, if you pull up his trade, the trade possibilities on Spotrac, trading DK Metcalf now saves basically no money. If you trade him now, you're taking on 23 million dead, which is only 1.5 million less than the 24.5 million he is due. So that's not really doing anything for anybody. So that's why you can see the team is saying we're not doing anything until after June 1st. Now, if you do it after June 1st, that dead cap hit gets split across two off seasons. You have 11.5 million dead this year, meaning you're saving 13 million, which is a lot. That would actually get you under the cap and allow you to afford all your rookies and your practice squad. But you then have to deal with another 11.5 million in 2025. So the money doesn't disappear, it just gets spread out across 2 years. So that's obviously more palatable. That's at least worthy of some level of conversation. Like trading Metcalf pre June 1st is just completely It's completely insane. It doesn't make any sense. You're giving away a player to save basically no money. You're going to pay the player basically the full amount of money you were going to pay him anyway to play on another team. That doesn't make any dang sense. Now, post June 1st is better, but consider that at this point in the offseason, that cap space will only do you so much. It's not like you're freeing up cap space before free agency starts and you can go out and spend a bunch of money now. Most of the players that you would want are gone. So you just have to deal with the stuff you already have. So it's not like doing this is going to allow you to go spend a bunch of money that you otherwise would not have had. You are going to be able to afford things easier, but there are other ways to accomplish that. That's what I always try to say here. If you need to clear a little bit of cap space to be able to pay your rookies and pay your practice squad, there are many other ways to handle that don't involve trading one of your best young players. So I'm still not really hearing that as being a viable solution. Now, because trading DK Metcalf is going to cost so much money, and because he's still relatively young, he's, I think, 27 years old or 26 going on 27, one of the two, still relatively young, should be entering or in his prime, really, when you consider how it usually works for NFL players. Then my thing is, I'm needing some serious return here. You want me to pay this guy $23 million over 2 years even to play for you? Then I need multiple first-round picks. And if you're not willing to do that, and don't get me wrong, I don't think any team would be willing to do that, then we don't have anything to talk about. So, especially when you consider the fact that the picks are not coming for another year. Like, you trade him to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has not had a really bad season in so long. When was the last time the Steelers had a top 10 pick natively? When was the last time the Steelers had like a 5-win season? It almost never happens. It's such a rare occurrence that if you're trading DK Metcalf to the Steelers and thinking you're going to get some top 5 pick back, then you're fooling yourself. That's not going to happen. That is not a realistic possibility at all. You are probably trading for a mid at best, but probably low first round pick. So I need multiple first round picks to offset that, especially with the money I'm paying him. So I don't see Pittsburgh being willing to give up that kind of draft capital for DK Metcalf. I don't see any team. Like, the Steelers are not the only team that is supposedly sniffing around. There's also a rumor that the Chiefs called the Seahawks about Metcalf, and were probably told something similar. We can have this discussion after June 1st, but I really hope that the discussion is we need multiple first-round picks, and then the other team goes, we're not doing that, and then the phone gets hung up. So that is how I feel about that. The DK Metcalf trade, I'm going to say this. You guys know that I'm pretty good with John Schneider right now. I think he's done a pretty good job these last few years. He's either learned from his mistakes or been empowered to actually make decisions and has been making fairly good ones. I'm good with John Schneider right now. I am. I think he's doing a fairly good job with this post-Russell Wilson rebuild so far. And I want to see where he can take it. And I'm going to definitely give him a little bit of leeway going forward here, assuming things go naturally. However, if John Schneider trades DK Metcalf without getting a Russell Wilson-sized haul back, like what we got from Denver in the Wilson trade, then I'm going to be joining the fire this guy camp. Because this is too big of a thing to mess up. This is too big of a thing to mess up, and unless you're trading him to a team that has a realistic chance of being awful, you would mess it up. Because I don't think anybody gives up that multiple first-round pick package for Metcalf right now. I think they should, but I don't think they will. Like, are you getting more for Metcalf than the Chiefs got for Tyreek Hill? Probably not. But that's what I would need to make it work, because, again, you have this money situation where you are paying him so much over the next couple years. So I just had to go off on that for a little bit. That was the main point of this video, to talk about the Metcalf stuff. I don't think it's going to happen. It doesn't make any sense financially. There's no way we're going to get an adequate return for it. If we do it, unless it's a Russell Wilson-sized haul, then I'm on the fire John Schneider wagon. That is too big of a slip up to make for me to be cool with. There are a couple of other guys that I want to briefly touch on as well, like Lockett. I haven't seen anything official with Lockett and trade rumors in the last, probably 3 or 4 weeks. So I think this went away. But just to touch on the topic briefly here, looking at Lockett's contract. He agreed to a restructure that brought his cap it down to under 19 million for 2024, which makes him reasonably priced. And then we have a out after the 2024 season to let him go for only 4 million dead. It seems very clear to me that the move is to keep Lockett for 2024, play things out with him, see how he does, and then in 2025, if he plays really well, maybe you extend him, but more realistically, you let him go because he's getting up there. He's getting up there, and he's probably going to start to lose touches to some of our other receivers, like JSN and Bobo. So at that point, he's just not going to be worth. He's not going to be worth a big contract, and it's not like he's going to be really hard up for money in a way that makes him feel like he has to stay in this league until he's 40, right? Like, I think he's already said he doesn't expect to have a super long NFL career. He wants to have a good career and then go do other things, which I think he would do at that point. Trading Tyler Lockett right now would actually save a decent amount of money. I will say that. It's not completely beyond the pale. 8 million dead, which saves almost 11 million if you do it now. Post June 1st would be 4 million, 4 million, so you're saving almost 15 million in 2024. So it is a little more practical, but what are you going to get back for Lockett? And keep in mind, again, these are picks next year. We have no idea if they're going to fall. If you got even a third-round pick for Lockett, which I don't know if you would realistically be able to do, if you got a third-round pick for Tyler Lockett, you don't even know where the pick's going to fall. It could end up being the last pick in the third round for all you know. And that's the difference between trading a pick now and trading a pick later. So the value of that stuff just diminishes a little bit. Another guy would be Draymond Jones. I did read something the other day that indicated that the Seahawks never considered trading Draymond Jones, and they're actually very excited to go into the season with depth on the defensive line. They want to have that Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and Draymond Jones rotation with maybe a Mike Morris involved as well, and the nose tackle rotation they have. Like, they want that. They don't want to give that up. Which, again, I want to say this. I got the sense that Draymond Jones could be moved. I didn't really want to because I didn't think we'd get anything back for it. I'd rather just roll forward with Draymond in the rotation, and you accept he's going to be overpaid. You're going to pay him more than he's worth, but you can live with it. It's okay to do that every now and then. Sometimes it's better than just getting some piddly little pick back and then just still paying him most of his money anyway to play somewhere else. So a Draymond Jones trade would still leave you paying him 13 and a third, saving just under 4 million. Post June 1st would be 6.7 split across 2 years, saving 11 and a half in 2024. I mean, that's better, but when you're talking about splitting a cap hit across 2 years, it's important to keep in mind that you're still paying the money. Like, it's like you see these news reports about people who put all this money on credit cards, put all this money on layaway, and they run into problems. And so often the problem is basically just, oh, they forgot they were going to have to pay it eventually. So don't forget that you still have to pay it eventually. It's not changing the amount. Technically, it becomes a little bit cheaper relative to the cap because the cap goes up every year, but you're still paying the same amount. So if you're looking at a situation where you're saving less than 5 million or just keeping Draymond, I'd rather have Draymond Jones on this roster and see what he does in 2024 than $5 million. Granted, that $5 million would actually free things up right now, but again, you can do it in other ways. There are other ways to free up cap space. So there was also the Woolen stuff, which I never heard anything real about Woolen, I'll say that much. And again, I didn't want to trade him. So I'm happy that we're going to give him a chance in 2024, see what's up. But there's not really much to discuss there cap-wise because he's on the rookie deal. So it looks like Woolen's going to be getting another shot at this. And yeah, can't see any trades happening now. And I'm going to say it again. If you make a trade now for draft picks, I'm probably not going to be very happy with it because those picks a year out, when you don't know where the pick lands, you have to assume some bad scenarios are on the table. right? There's a huge difference between trading for a pick that, say, is like ninth overall versus getting a pick that could be anywhere in the first round. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Just wanted to talk about this for a little bit.